Hi, my name is Lami Gidado, and I am the president of the Association of Play Therapy Nigeria. And I'm here with a friend. Could you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Becky Clemison. I'm originally from the UK, but I was born and raised in Nigeria, in Benin
Yay.
City, Edo State, and I'm living here in Cebu, Philippines, in
Hmm.
Asia.
How long have you been in Cebu?
So we've been in Cebu for almost 10 years now, and we originally came out IWAM, but we set up our own charity called For Freedom to tackle child trafficking,
Hmm.
and that's kind of how we got into play therapy.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, Rebecca, we're recording this for the International Day of Play, which is 11th of June. And this year's theme is on protecting play, protecting childhood. So it's interesting. You have experience growing up and working in three different countries. So you may want to, I don't know, I'll be interested in hearing what you would say about play in Nigeria, play in the UK, and also play in the Philippines. But let's start with the Philippines. Um, could you share some of the traditional games practiced in the Philippines?
I think, like anywhere, play is starting to change. And so, of course,
Mm,
children are starting to be online more and have more screen time. But
mm,
traditionally, there were lots of parlor games with
mm,
paper and balloons and flour and sticks and just
mm,
everyday things that don't cost a lot of money because a lot of
mm,
families couldn't afford toys, but they kind of just made their own. And not in the same way that the Nigerian kids did. They are so creative in making their own drums and bicycles and little vehicles out of cans. I've never seen anything like that here, but they do have games. And some of them are so fun that even the adults continue to play them later on in
mm,
life, especially at parties. And
mm.
everyone is game for a laugh and everyone joins in. No one is kind of shy about joining in.
It's okay.
There's one game where you throw your chinelas, your slippers, to
Mhm,
knock the other slipper, a bit like
mhm,
bowls.
mm,
And there are other like jumping jacks and mostly involving like parlor games. Of course, there's karaoke. They have video here,
mm,
and kids love to join in. That's more of a family activity, but everyone does it together. And singing and dancing. Of course, nowadays there's TikTok. They love dancing.
mm.
So I think that's also a form of therapy as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I know with the work that you do, you must work with children from different types of settings, including low income communities. What are some of the, or at least maybe one challenge that you have faced in keeping play safe for children from those communities?
Yes, keeping children safe in play is a challenge for many communities. I would say not just the low income.
Mm,
Um, I think, of course, for families that cannot afford to employ childcare or send their children to nursery or kindergarten,
mm,
keeping their children safe during play when they're not at school is a challenge. And communities work together. The mums can help each other, uh, build friendships with one another, and build trust so that they can help each other
mm,
watch the children. Of course, roads and vehicles is a challenge if they live in a busy area. But if they live in a closed community,
mm,
then they have to help each other watch the children and keep an eye on them.
mm,
Um, of course, screen time is an issue,
mm,
it is everywhere, I think,
mhm,
especially as parents start to learn more about the challenges and the dangers of letting their children play outside. Another challenge is also the sun. A lot of parents want to keep their children indoors from probably from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m., it is quite hot, just like it is in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents don't want their children to get sunburnt.
Mm,
And that can be a real challenge for children playing outside.
right.
But the parents can ask permission also. By asking each other permission if the children can play, then it builds trust between the parents.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm wondering, Rebecca, do homes have gardens or are there like parks or like community gardens where children can play in the Philippines?
In the city, the houses are quite small, and
Mm,
they have more space than they would say, for example, in Japan.
mm,
But definitely in the low income communities, the
mhm,
houses are very close together and
mm,
there's no space to play. And to be honest, in the whole of Cebu City, we're almost 1 million people. There
mm,
are very few parks and playgrounds. Usually
mm,
they're in the malls, the expensive malls.
mhm,
So finding outside safe spaces to play is a challenge, and it's something that the
mm,
government needs to think about and prioritize. To be honest, maybe that's
mhm.
something that we should lobby
Yeah,
for. But
yeah.
um, in
Mm,
in those smaller communities, yeah, it's very difficult for them to find space to play.
mhm,
Have
mhm.
you heard of cockfighting? They have two roosters or cockerels fighting each other.
Yes,
It's
yes.
also quite common and popular here.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's something that the young boys get involved in, maybe from around 6 to 8 years old. If their
Mm,
parents do that, they
mm,
raise their own roosters for cockfighting. So
wow.
maybe that's more of a sport,
Yeah.
but for the children, it can also be play.
Yeah, yeah. So even in communities where the spaces are small, they still have things like cockfighting. Yeah, interesting. With your experience living in 3 countries, what would you say, um, you know, what kind of policy changes should government, consider in terms of protecting children's play?
I think the law and the policies here are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
The government has really put a lot of time and effort into making the laws almost faultless, to be honest.
Hmm.
But whether they actually get implemented is another
Mm,
matter. I think
mm,
there is a big discrepancy between the actual law on paper and what
mm,
gets implemented. And a
mm,
lot of people get away with not having to keep the law.
mm,
So I think the first step is they need to close that gap and make sure the laws are implemented.
mm,
But the laws also have to be realistic
mm,
because, if there are low income settings and the NGOs or the organizations cannot afford to
mm,
have two staff per child or whatever the policy is, if it's
mm,
unrealistic, then that also needs to be taken into consideration.
mm,
Um, and so, yeah, the gap between the reality and the law needs to be closed. And then beyond that, I think um, I think building more play spaces,
mm,
affordable play spaces or free
mm,
play spaces, for example, playgrounds, definitely needs to be a priority.
mm. And what you're saying actually sounds a lot like Nigeria. I think we have a lot of lovely policies in writing, but the implementation needs to be taken more seriously. And also parks, because what I see here is like for example, I didn't grow up in Jos, I grew up in Lagos, but my husband told me there used to be parks in Jos, but now they've turned them to beer parlors and other things, So it's sad. So I hope that policies will begin to change. Is there anything else you would like to say concerning protecting play and protecting childhood?
I would love to see the importance of play and the um, the importance of the role of play
Mhm.
in children's education and development, learning, and just the general all-round importance of play. being understood better, being
Mm-hmm.
taught more in universities to teachers and social workers and to parents, because I think a lot of parents see play as a waste of time when
Yeah.
their children should be studying.
Yeah.
And children can even get scolded in some communities for playing
Yeah.
when they should be doing chores or homework. So I would love to see that change.
Yeah.
And I think cartoons like Bluey are starting to have an impact because parents are maybe watching and realizing that there are other ways to parent. There are more
Right.
playful, fun, and engaging, interactive, loving ways to spend time with children in play, not just teaching, lecturing, helping with homework, but just spending time in a loving way together, doing what the child wants to do, which is play.
Yeah. Yeah, what you just said, I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is one of the ways that we can protect play is that adults also need to find their way back to play, right? Because I think understanding what play is would help us empathize with children and see the importance. Thank you so much, Rebekah, for being here and for the time and for sharing with us about your experience in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you.